If there is one scent powerful enough to announce the moment you walk through the door, this is India. It is the scent of curry. It is not the aroma of a singular dish, but rather the complex swirling fragrance of a masterful blend of spices, some hot and pungent, others warm and earthy, all of them tightly woven into the surrounding air. Outsiders often joke that Indians are addicted to curry, but this is precisely where a fundamental misunderstanding lies. We speak of eating curry as if it were a fixed, singular dish with a set, universal recipe. In the Indian cultural context, however, curry is not the name of a specific meal. It is the definition of a culinary style, a manner of cooking. The very name curry originates from the Tamil word kari. Tamil is one of the ancient Dravidian languages of southern India, and kari simply means a sauce or gravy that is consumed alongside rice. When Europeans, especially the British, first arrived in India, they observed that the daily meal spread often included several thick, spicy preparations rich with aromatic spices, all served with rice or bread. Unable to distinguish the dozens of local dishes or memorize their regional names, they resorted to the easiest possible generalization. They called everything curry. Thus, the word curry was phonetically transcribed by European ears and eventually solidified into the English term curry, which has since spread globally, even reaching Vietnam as karit. To be accurate, curry is less a specific recipe and more a foundational technique. It is analogous to the term ko, braising stewing, or luoc, boiling poaching, in Vietnamese cooking. You can co-fish, co-meat, or co-eggs, and while the technique is the same, each resulting pot is entirely unique in flavor and execution. Curry operates similarly. It describes a type of sauced dish where spices are first bloomed and cooked in fat or oil, and then combined with protein, be it meat, fish, legumes, or various vegetables. There is no single standard curry recipe, nor is there one fixed curry flavor. Curry merely refers to a general cooking method. Every household has its unique approach, every region boasts different variations, and even the cook's mood or the season can dictate a subtle shift in spice ratios, yielding a wholly new preparation. The irony is that most Indians in their daily lives do not recognize the concept of curry as the rest of the world uses it. They name their dishes according to the main ingredient, the cooking method, or the specific blend of spices used, the masala. For them, each dish holds a distinct identity and a unique name. It is never lumped under a single generic label. The concept of curry is essentially a byproduct of foreign interaction with Indian cuisine, born from an inability to differentiate. This generalizing approach led the West to perceive curry as a fixed, predictable flavor profile. To cater to this desire for convenience, the British industrial culinary complex developed and marketed pre-mixed spice blends, creating what we now know as curry powder. This was a useful invention for global trade, but it is also the primary reason why so many people mistakenly believe that curry is monochrome and follows just one formula. In a traditional Indian kitchen, spices are rarely pre-mixed. Every dish requires a specific, often complex, ratio of whole spices that are roasted, ground, and cooked to suit that particular moment and ingredient. Therefore, it is important to assert that commercial packaged curry powder, while convenient, does not embody the true spirit of authentic Indian cooking. It is an industrialized version designed for the world outside. For the Indian cook, curry is not a packet of powder, but a deep understanding of cooking style, spices, ingredients, climate, and even the body's needs. Once they are accustomed to this style, they don't see themselves eating curry constantly, but simply eating their meal in their own customary way. Much like a Vietnamese person eats daily servings of fish sauce, mam, and soup, canch, without feeling repetitive, knowing that today's braised fish is entirely distinct from tomorrow's braised pork. In summary, curry is a familiar word whose nature is far from simple. It is not a dish nor a static recipe, but rather the culmination of geography, culture, ancient culinary habits, and layers of historical misunderstanding. So why did Indians develop such intensive spice use in the first place, leading to the misunderstanding known as curry? It all begins with geography. India lies largely within the tropical and subtropical belts, characterized by intense heat, long monsoon seasons, and high humidity. While this environment is agriculturally rich, historically it presented a severe domestic challenge: food spoilage. Meat and fish could begin to turn rancid within hours if left unrefrigerated. Before the advent of modern cooling technologies, survival depended on either consuming food immediately or finding methods to prevent putrefaction and mass decaying odors. In this context, spices emerged not primarily because they tasted good, but because they offered safety. Turmeric, ginger, chili, garlic, pepper, cinnamon, and cloves all possess natural antimicrobial and antibacterial properties. While they couldn't stop decay indefinitely, they drastically extended the window of safe consumption, significantly reducing the risk of food poisoning in a hot, damp environment. As generations realized that eating this way resulted in fewer stomach aches and less mortality, the habit became deeply ingrained. Over time, spices transcended their role as mere preservation agents and became the very foundation of cultural identity. Indians became accustomed to the warm, pungent, and intense flavors from an early age, and their very physiology adapted to the richness. The next question: why is curry typically saucy and thick? Curry usually has a viscous consistency. It is neither thin like soup, canj, nor dry like a stir-fry, xao. This is not a stylistic choice for amusement. It is a direct consequence of geography, eating habits, and a culinary philosophy developed over millennia. First and foremost, curry is the perfect accompaniment for starches. In India, it is eaten with rice, roti, and chapati, flatbreads. The sauce must be thick enough to cling to the grains of rice and the pieces of bread without running off like water. If the sauce is too thin, the rice becomes bland and wet, losing its flavor integrity. A proper viscosity ensures that every bite of bread or rice is saturated with the savory spices, providing a satisfying mouthfeel. For analogy, think of dipping bread. You want thick, sweetened, condensed milk, not watery, fresh milk. The second reason lies in the process of blooming and cooking the spices. Curry does not rely on spices sprinkled on top at the end. Instead, the key process involves frying, roasting, and slowly cooking the ground aromatics, onions, garlic, ginger, and tomatoes, in fat. As these ingredients cook down slowly, they naturally dissolve and thicken, creating the characteristic smooth paste or gravy. Crucially, curry almost always incorporates fat, whether it is ghee, clarified butter, oil, yogurt, cream, or coconut milk. Fat is essential because it helps dissolve and unlock the volatile essential oils within the spices, allowing their complex aromas to fully bloom. When fat and spices combine, they create a rich, glossy, and highly satisfying texture. A thin, watery curry simply cannot deliver the robust flavor profile that defines the cuisine. To truly appreciate the reverence Indians hold for spices, one must look back at history. For centuries, India was the global epicenter of the spice trade. Pepper, cinnamon, cloves, cardamom, and nutmeg were valued in Europe as highly as gold. Westerners living in colder climates and eating plainer diets yearned for these intense aromas so strongly that they risked crossing vast oceans, establishing new maritime routes, and even waging wars just to secure access. Spices were not merely commodities, they were geopolitical power. For Indians, however, these were the bounty of their own soil, a birthright. The prolific use of spices thus became a cultural marker, a quiet affirmation of Indian identity, signaling that bland food was not simple or pure, but merely incomplete. When Europeans arrived, they brought their own customs of rigid standardization and documentation. They generalized all the spice stews as curry, even though the local vernacular had no such overarching concept. That term followed them back to Europe and eventually spread worldwide. But in migrating outside of India, curry became simplified. Spices were packaged and recipes were streamlined to suit Western palates, leading to lighter, sweeter, or less intensely spicy versions. This adaptation resulted in distinct regional iterations: Japanese curry, thick, sweet, and mild, served over rice; Thai curry, characterized by abundant coconut milk and fresh herbs rather than dry-roasted spices; and British curry, which has its own unique lineage. Even in Vietnam, curry has been subtly adjusted to fit the local taste profile. To an expert palate, blind tasting just a few spoonfuls can distinguish the origins simply by the specific ratios of spice and fat used. Today, the UK is often considered the world's biggest consumer of curry outside of the Indian subcontinent. This is not coincidence, but the result of a century-long history of colonization, immigration, and culinary evolution. Estimates suggest that people in the UK spend over £2.5 billion annually on curry dishes, a staggering figure that confirms curry is no longer an exotic import, but a fundamental part of the British daily diet. Curry began its integration into British life primarily in the 19th century when India was a jewel in the British crown. Officials, soldiers, and traders who lived in the subcontinent developed a taste for spiced food. Upon returning home, they carried this new palate with them, creating a demand that fueled the establishment of early Indian restaurants. Initially, curry was seen as novelty cuisine, enjoyed mainly by the upper and middle classes. However, thanks to the waves of post-World War II immigration from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, curry truly became a dish for the masses. In this context, chicken tikka masala (CTM) emerged as an iconic dish. Curiously, this dish is not authentically Indian. The most popular version is believed to have been invented in the UK when South Asian chefs adapted the dry, intense Indian chicken tikka by smothering it in a creamy, tomato-based, sweeter sauce, specifically engineered to appeal to the British preference for gravy. The popularity of CTM became so immense that in the early 2000s, British politicians and media frequently dubbed it the country's unofficial national dish, supplanting fish and chips and the traditional roast dinner. This reflects a fascinating reality. Modern British culinary identity has shifted and curry is now woven into its fabric. Japan represents a different path entirely. Curry arrived via the British Navy in the late 19th century. The Japanese transformed it into kare raisu, a sweet, thick, and typically mild preparation served with rice. Today, curry is easily among the top 3 most popular home-cooked dishes in Japan, rivaling ramen and even sushi in everyday consumption. In Thailand, the curry tradition went in yet another direction, utilizing much more coconut milk and fresh aromatic herbs, with fewer of the dry, roasted spices central to Indian cooking. Though they share the name, a blind taste test would instantly differentiate the regional styles. Ultimately, curry is the perfect example of how global cuisine is shaped by misunderstanding and adaptation. The concept we recognize today is not a single dish, but a dynamic living outcome of ancient geography, medicinal necessity, cultural affirmation, colonial categorization, and continuous reinvention across the globe.